Coming to you live from the sunburnt country. It's time for Destiny Down Under.
Welcome to the 122nd episode of the I think it's 122nd. I didn't count before we went live. But anyway, welcome to a episode of the Destiny Down Under podcast. We missed a week, but we're back. We had a week off over Easter, mainly just because Rockstar Games wasn't fucking here. He was off fucking camping with his degenerate brother.
I turned my mobile off for 5 days, and it was glorious. It was so good.
I can only imagine such sweet peace.
And then he fucking turned it back on when he came into my stream. And he was in voice chat and was just going ding 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 for about 5 minutes straight.
Mostly from the Aussie fucking Twitter DMs. So you missed 470 DMs.
Oh no!
Come on.
Oh, good. Good.
Christ.
Sassi, how are you? We'll go around the circle, but we are joined today by not an anonymous hunter lurking somewhere in the tower, but Sassi. We pulled him in at last. He's so dedicated that we made the late call up to drag him in so that we can talk a little bit about all of the bullshit that's going on with comp and rewards and the guns that have been nerfed. And, you know, we figured he's got the highest pitch voice out of everyone we know. If someone's going to screech, it's going to be him. He's going to do a great job.
This actually ties into something else. So nobody's seen Sassi before up until the other week. And he's got a very high-pitched voice. But the motherfucker is 6'6", built like a brick shithouse, and he's got the voice of fucking Damien, whatever his name was, the famous jockey.
Voice of a choir boy.
You cut me deep, guys.
That's all right. This week's episode of Destiny Down Under now appeals to dogs.
God damn it.
Anyway, thanks for subbing, Sass. You're a good bloke.
Thanks for the subscription, Sass. Appreciate it, mate. Thanks.
Go fuck yourself.
Cheers, mate. Thanks for 3 months.
Oh yeah. Shout out to that time where I freaking bitched until you gifted me a sub into your channel.
I think you bitched until he gave you one in mine as well, mate. You're fucking best.
Yours.
Anyway, Slothy, how are you, mate? How you going?
To those of you, we obviously didn't have the podcast last week, and if you do celebrate Easter, happy Easter to you. Hope it was safe and well and nothing really happened. And you spent all the time with your family and you didn't kill each other, and you
got an egg,
didn't,
or maybe two.
Yeah, got an egg, or maybe two. So yeah, Easter last weekend, and then this week was Anzac Day, which is usually a pretty rough experience for at least myself and a few other diggers that I know. So we did that, but this week was didn't really feel like I've had ear problems all week and all that sort of thing. My head's been absolutely thumping, so streams this week have been short, and it's just been playing Overwatch and Siege and shit. And
You
not really been
saw
doing very much.
Endgame, right?
Shut! I just yelled at him for talking about it.
We doesn't have to. There's no spoilers. Just was it good?
This is you're asking the man who thinks Terminator 2 is a bad movie whether or not Endgame is good.
All right.
I'm worried about you.
Okay,
Jesus.
Just say if it's good or not.
To provide content for the channel, I personally didn't think Endgame was as good as other movies in the franchise, i.e. Infinity War and other things. I was not a fan.
Okay.
The good bits were really good. The bad and the average bits I didn't like very much at all.
Okay.
Okay.
I mean, I watched Infinity War.
I'll give it a very average
again.
out of 10.
I watched Infinity War again last night just to prepare myself.
To rehash, yeah.
Yeah, and Infinity War was a fucking great movie, man.
Mm-hmm.
That is high. That's a
I
high
like
bar.
Infinity War more than Endgame.
I'll say
really?
this. I'll say this as a caveat, just because there are literally people in the chat right now saying that they're unsubscribing. Is that Sloth is the only person. Sloth is the only person that I have encountered as yet that holds this opinion, and he's also the only person I know that thinks Terminator 2 is shit. So I think we can just put a line through it. Good job, Sloth.
But no. Well, look, I'll report back next week, and I'll get
So
some
will I,
thoughts.
because I don't think I can. I'm just going to have to like leave the kids at an amusement park or something. Just look after yourselves for 3 hours. I wouldn't do that. Just kidding.
But
yeah,
Matty, how was your week outside of getting back from fucking out in the boonies?
Yeah, well, you've got all of the. So for those who follow me on Twitter, my dad had a really bad heart. Basically, he had like fucking all of his veins going to all of his heart quadrants were all fucked. Basically, and he needed to have a stent, a balloon, and one of the sections was just so badly blocked they actually couldn't stent it. So he just has to go on heaps of drugs, heaps of blood thinners. So we got to go away camping, and normally my dad is a fucking maniac when it comes to camping. Like it's glam. It's so much shit. He's got a camper trailer. He's got everything. We eat.
So
better
you didn't go camping. You went fucking glamping.
Well, I mean, I guess so. Like it's still camping gear, but if you're like,
did you sleep on the ground? Did you sleep on the?
Yeah. No, we're in a tent.
Did you sleep on an air mattress?
Yeah. Well, it's in self-inflatable one that Dad gave me. Right, but it was a 10, and it was just drop toilets. That's all that's there. But they have everything you ever wanted. But because he had the heart surgery, he couldn't lift anything. So me and my brother are just fucking hauling, all the tents, because it was him, his girlfriend, me, Danny, both, mum and dad. So we, there was 3 lots of tents, 3 lots of fucking, everything, man. And so it was a whole day, like 3 hours to pack up sort of deal. But it was really good. No reception down there. Went swimming in the river. It's absolutely like death. Like we jumped in and be like, okay, literally 1 minute, I got to get out or I'll start like
that
freezing
cold.
to death.
Really?
It's cold,
Already?
man. Like it stings.
Dude.
And then this week, when you go camping for 5 days, you just have a mountain of washing of filthy fucking dirt clothing. So me and Danny are still struggling through that. And then we watched some Infinity War to round the week off last night, and we're probably going to go to the movies tomorrow to watch the new one.
Good.
Played some early this morning. That's about it.
What about you, Log?
I think keeping out of trouble, mate. I got so bored that without the episode last week that I moved into a new house. So I'm in a new room. Not really. I'm in the same room, but I just flipped it all around. So now that it's
looks
actually
heaps better.
Yeah. And I got some new.
You got
shit,
a nice carpet. That's a nice carpet.
There's so much more room for activity.
I've honestly never thought about it, mate. It's just
heaps better light.
I got all my fucking Transformers and bullshit out. Just so I can prove to people, nerd flex at people now.
Okay, so hang on. Just before the a while before the podcast started, I joined video and all that sort of thing, and he's roaming around the room. Sassi and I are sitting here going, "What are you doing?" And he holds up his shacks and he goes, "Yeah, Thea broke his horn off."
Yeah, she gets in here and she just, because they're at fucking there's a shacks on the horn. Yeah, she just rips it out. I don't know why she always does it, and then she just like throws it on the ground, and I'm like, well, here's Shax with his fucking horn ripped out. Where's the horn? So I'm looking around for the horn for 20 minutes, and it was stuffed under the bloody guitar pedal thing. I'm like, I don't know who breeds these nuisance children, but
just fucking ripped it.
Yeah, she's a little ogre, man. She's a little hive ogre. Just she doesn't fuck around. She knows what she's doing. Oh, anyway, it's been another huge week in the Destiny community. Not really. There's not that much news on, but
what
the
about
news
Sassi? We're gonna ask Sassi what he did.
Fuck! I forgot he was here. Because there's no. Yeah, anyway. It's just a picture of a fucking hunter sitting on a. You're going to need to move your mouse a bit, Sass, so you don't get sent back to orbit.
I should be okay.
But if you're
Hey,
if
Sassi,
you're
how are
in
you, mate?
chat, you can try and
I'm
get in the
good.
background to Sassi. Just go and jump in and dance behind him.
No, please have mercy on my soul. But I had a pretty, it was a week. I mean, I went back to work. I
Rough.
had a couple of days off because of Easter Monday and shit. It was fun. Cried in Revelry and Iron Banner. Played Iron Banner for like 10 minutes and then refused to play PvP for the next 2 weeks, which is great. Still good. Been doing a lot of in-house stuff with my group of friends, / clan. Been doing a lot of like scrims that are just private matches, so we just set up our own rules.
Oh, cool.
Oh, so
Cool.
you don't use tonics and shit?
Yeah, no. Tonics can go screw themselves, man.
You know what? I last, what night was it? Wednesday night, we put together a team and spent pretty much the whole night in Iron Banner. And if you can go in with this is stupid mentality,
Yeah.
it's kind of dumb fun. But
if you throw 5 grenades before shooting, then you're okay.
there was one fucking. I was just using an infinite, endless shoulder charges, just mauling people. But
So, and people call me a shitter for fucking using an armamentarium with fucking double suppressor nades.
I wasn't going too hard on it. I wasn't going too hard on it until I got put up against
off,
a
I was
team.
watching.
Yeah, you were still asleep at fucking 8 o'clock when I started, or whatever the fuck your nocturnal habits are. But we started, and I was like, okay, I'm going to use bloody what's it called? Bloody mini fist of havoc, whatever it is. I can never remember it. Ballistic slam, and I'll use that, and I'll just use it to get close to people and whatever, and shotgun or whatever. And I've got the Junies on, so it electrocutes people as well, so it's cool. But we played against this team, and they were all hunters, just throwing fucking skip grenades just endlessly.
Oh yeah.
And
I was gonna
went,
say.
I flipped. I'm like,
So
fuck this. Put shoulder charge on.
So that ties into that sort of segues into, because last week we obviously didn't have a cast. We've got the Revelry. Now the Revelry, you guys would know about it. You've got your tonics that you can use your Revelry essence to do your abilities, your grenades, and your
They recharge
melee.
quickly.
Yeah, they recharge very, very quickly.
And
It's
Oh,
almost instant. I mean, it's not even almost a recharge. It's pretty quick.
It's
eh?
about
Yeah,
3
it is a
seconds.
Very, very quick.
And the more armor you have on, the faster the cooldown. So.
Yeah,
that's
so
true as
which
well.
is
It's
really, really cool, and like it, we can. So that's been in PvP. So last Saturday, Log and I stepped into comp, and we were both had a few. And we stepped into comp, and comp actually wasn't too bad. But then we went into quick play. For me personally, it wasn't too bad. Like, it was sweaty, but it wasn't using spamming tonic like we were. But then we went into quick play. Holy shit!
Yeah, man.
Holy shit! Like that was
life like the life where you just on perpetually red health thanks to everyone throwing skip grenades.
yeah.
Do you know the best thing about this? Have you guys got Thorn yet?
No.
Because you can spam abilities, you just need void kills, man, and you can go into Iron Banner, and I've just been spamming void grenades, and it goes up so quick in comparison.
You've also got things like, because you're a filthy warlock, you've also got things like handheld supernova and shit like that too.
Handheld supernova in sky.
Yeah, I'm in doing the charging the nades and throwing them. But that's what I was doing this morning, because like this is probably the most, I hardly ever play PvP. This is probably going to be my only chance to really grind out Thorn. I'm like, super easy. It's literally just ability spam. Just get kills.
Or as Zane says in the chat, yeah, you're spamming Devour and shit like that too. Like that's insanity.
I did that for a bit.
The things that you can do with the tonics are very, very cool.
Yeah, I mean, you go.
Before we go into it too much, Sass. So like we've got the Revelry, and you can do branches upon branches, and apparently theoretically you can go up to about 1,000, but most people have been guitared at about 500 there.
I saw Fami got stung the other night at like 550.
Fami got stung.
Something.
Yeah, because there's too many orbs. So
basically, because it's endless.
Spawn, it just causes. Yeah.
Basically, because it's endless. The PvE legends of our community have been trying to just go for as fucking far as they can, which I reckon.
In the Infinite Forest.
Yeah.
They got up to like
endless.
Yeah,
Yes.
as long as you don't die, it's endless.
Oh, cool.
So they got up to like 554, but I know that Glad, the week that it came out, also got stung by an error and sent back to orbit, and it kind of fucked the run. So it's, I don't know. There's something. It's obviously some kind of coding thing that it just accumulates. But
They said it's because since there's so many items on the map, it just errors out because you get that in the raids as well. Because in the Infinite Forest, you use the same. It's like 200 meters in terms of like as the crow flies. You like obviously zigzag around it, but you basically go from one side to the other side. Then there's a Vex plate, and then you turn around, you go back, and then you turn around back.
Yeah,
So you
it's
use
all
too
in there.
much
It's all
stuff. So you use the same space. Yeah, you use the same space, and then stuff like ammo or debris or like Vex parts or Thrall that like taken Thrall, they get glitched out and they don't despawn are still there, and it just accumulates over time.
I only got a couple of chances to do it this morning. What? And I think we just did like 25 levels or something, and then the 5 bosses at the end. What does the levels add to? Like,
So the
final boss time.
getting to level 15 gives you a minute 30 on the timer. And then obviously you need to kill lads to keep the timer up as well. Level 20 is, let's say, 2 minutes. Level 25, blah, 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 blah. So
okay, so it gives you more time to kill.
it just gives you time. Really, that's it. Every branch gives you further time.
So you don't really need. I think we did it on 20 pretty fine with just randoms. So you don't really need to have.
You don't even need that. If I've done it, the worst I've done it, I think, was 10 because we got bored and just all jumped off the edge and put it into the boss phase because we wanted to quit and still managed to complete it. And if I can do that, most people can because I'm fucking shit, as is well established. So there's that. I don't know. I mean, what are your holistic thoughts of the event? I think the tower looks fucking beautiful. I hope they leave it that way because it's fucking beautiful.
The tower looks really, really good.
The music reminds me of Zelda or something. It's so like
it is.
It's so whimsical and childish. It's great. It's just like
why can I not pick up a like ocarina emote? Where is that? When is that coming? How did they miss that? For fuck's sake!
Right before the lawsuit, log.
Yeah. You're talking to the guy who literally infringes on copyright for a fucking living. So there's that.
The revelry also gives access to one of the final exotics for the for this annual pass, year of annual pass situation. The Arbalest, which Log made a terrible joke about on Twitter. It was fucking absolutely atrocious.
I regret nothing.
Also has a really cool piece of lore in the description. Found that really cool.
I haven't read that yet.
Did you see
his face?
Did you see, guys? Bye bye.
It's Drifter talking to, I believe it's Shax, and it just shows that Shax was a warlord before becoming running into the Iron Lords and
That's
crap.
the biggest fucking no shit moment of my life. Of course he fucking was.
Legitimately.
Yeah. But it was just like pretty cool the way that they talk about it.
Nice. Okay. Cool.
Which is nice, and that's cool. So like, there's bounties and all that sort of thing. Grandma's back in the tower, which is really lovely.
Except when you're me and you have everything muted and you don't have subtitles on. So when the cutscene plays, she just like looks at you with like this real tired smile and doesn't say anything. And you're like, is anything supposed to happen? You're like, oh shit, I got all the sound off. She's just like,
that's just like me in everyday life, man. When I like going to the fish and chip shop, can I get a burger? And there's some tired old woman just like. Anyway.
You want chicken or plain salt? Both.
Chicken. Both. Oh, yeah. Anyway, Australian ads, people. Let's go.
Australian adverts. But no, and that sort of really covers it for the revelry. But this week, big issue. And firstly and foremostly, I'm just going to say straight off the bat, a lot of people are okay with it after they've had a look and had to think about it and all that sort of thing. But I'm really, really fucking disappointed with the Destiny community this week. You can play the music log if you want. Go for it, mate.
This is sad music.
This has to be the rage music, surely.
It's not the rage. I'm not going to rage. I'm really fucking disappointed.
Okay, yeah.
I'm really disappointed with the the Destiny 2 community this week. The reason being is because the changes to the NF and the Lunas. They're big changes. It was Sassi. We'll get into it in a little bit.
Yeah.
But you, as the community, cannot go onto social media platforms, Facebook, YouTube, fucking Twitter, or anything like that. You cannot go onto YouTube and abuse people, calling them. And I don't say this shit in real life. I don't say this shit on my stream, but calling people gay, retarded, calling it AIDS, calling it cancer, calling it this, calling it that. Yeah, the nerf is silly. Apparently, according to some people, I don't have the weapons. I don't know. Sassi will talk about it in a sec. But that does not give you the right to go to people's personal Twitters, that people that work for Bungie and all that sort of thing, and call them morons or fuckheads or anything like that. That is their job. That is what they do. They are providing a game and a game service for you. You don't get to call them out and call them all the names under the sun because you don't like the changes. For the most part, we're all adults.
I'm just
Grow
like,
the
I
fuck
hate
up.
it when Dad gets angry.
Grow up. Quite legitimately. I'm
No, but no.
very,
True words, though.
Hate the game.
very, very, very
Because you don't
disappointed in
even
the
know.
Destiny 2 community.
Yeah. So let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Can
we?
look?
All right, look, we'll just summarise Sloth's thing and say, don't be a cunt.
Don't make up.
Really.
I think that's warranted. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's warranted.
Yeah.
Yep.
Don't be a
So,
one. But yeah,
Sassi, can you
let's
just
get into
tell
it.
me,
Let's get into it.
For someone who doesn't do
Hey.
any PvP, what were they like before? What was the pre-nerf? Because I've never even wielded the thing. Like,
So
was the deal
before Sassi gets into it, we'll touch on the TWAB and all that sort of thing. Then we'll get into it. Yeah.
Yeah, well,
That
how
sound
about
good?
we'll
Well, this
read
is-
read straight from the TWAB. We'll read what it's going to
Straight
be,
from the TWAB.
and then we'll literally yesterday when this all happened, I said to Sassi straight away because he's got a far better fucking handle on this. We want to cover it as responsibly as we can. Can you come on the show? And he said, "Yeah, no worries."
All right. So
I'm gonna go
at
get
the
a beer. I'll
release
be
of
back.
Destiny 2 Forsaken, 2 Pinnacle weapons became available for players to earn in the competitive playlist in the Crucible. Each weapon has a unique quest requiring a mastery of hand cannons to complete. There is a lot of feedback on how the Pinnacle Crucible hand cannons stand above most weapons in the sandbox. Today we'll be going through some of the balance changes planned for the Season of Opulence. We wanted to start this conversation early to ensure players understood that the change was coming, even if they were still on the path to acquiring these rewards. Here's the Destiny dev team to walk us through the planned changes. The dev team. We wanted to give you a preview of some plans we have to balance Luna's Howl and Not Forgotten in Season of Opulence. After significant amounts of feedback, internal discussion, and play testing, we've decided to adjust how these hand cannons work. For players, these weapons can represent a significant investment of time and personal improvement needed to acquire them. When tuning, we attempt to take into account the time commitment players take to acquire weapons and balance that against how these weapons affect different game modes. Magnificent Howl, the unique perk on these weapons, is too effective. It works in a neutral setting and rewards players for getting precision shots, something that they would have done naturally. As a result, the time to kill of the game shifts to meet the new benchmark, and the players feel that the majority of primary weapons in Destiny 2 cannot compete with these Pinnacle weapons. Our current plan is to make Luna's Howl and Not Forgotten the only 150 RP precision hand cannons that will maintain some aspects of their current behavior while taking on the firing speed and the damage of the 150 RPM hand cannons. Magnificent Howl will also be adjusted so that it increases only body shot damage, resulting in a 2 headshot, 1 body shot kill. Magnificent Howl will still give an advantage due to requiring less precision hits for an optimal time to kill. Then they go about the evolvement of it all, the evolution of it all, rather. So, Sassi, as someone who plays PvP and has these weapons, what does this mean?
This is just so weird, man.
Yeah,
'Cause I-
wait, before we do this, can you just tell me, like, start at the beginning? Like, what were these guns like? And so what? Magnificent Howl was what? So it was a 2-tap headshot. Is that
So what it was, Magnificent Howl, after getting 2 two rapid headshots. The third one dealt like triple damage, so it would automatically kill you if you were hit in the body. So it would automatically be a 3-shot kill, basically, no matter what happened.
Okay.
Which is still the case.
Another side effect of that happening is that if you got 2 headshots on someone and then they died to someone else and then you headshotted another person, you would start with the 150 damage straight up and you would just 2-tap them.
Okay.
Which is super rare because it only if you get a kill, it resets and then the buff goes away.
Yeah,
or if you
it's
miss
pretty
the shot, it goes
contextual.
away. So it was actually pretty rare, but it is enough to be when you go around the corner and you go bink bink and you're dead. It's pretty like, oh, okay, that was a fun fight.
Yeah.
But
And what was the RPM on it before?
180. So
the 180.
so like
yeah.
the
So it was shooting a bit quicker.
Yeah.
Yeah, your
So
Ikelos, your Duke, all that sort of thing. About that, it's that speed.
Yeah. So they've slowed the RPM down and then removed the precision headshot damage out of it. So what that means is that if you get 2 headshots, the next body shot will kill them. But it also doesn't mean that it's a 2-shot headshot on if someone else comes into the fight. So it will always try to make it consistently a 3-shot kill.
Sure. Okay. So that contextual, like, second party coming along and just copying like 2-shot headshots, not going to happen.
Yeah. And what they're arguing, so what I believe that they say when they say they want it to be the only...
Yeah, what does that mean? The only 150?
150, I'm just checking on Dim just to see. Yeah, so they're talking about archetypes. So the precision archetype is the one with the straight up, the recoil is straight vertical and it doesn't really have a lot of recoil. The 150 RPM hand cannons currently are lightweights. So they give you a movement bonus. So that's something like your spare rations or your dire promise. So it's kind of like, it's that gun.
Yeah, but when they say the only 150, does that mean there's not going to be anything else in that category?
No, it means that it will retain the straight up recoil and would retain those perks of having a precision hand cannon frame, but it's in the lightweight hand cannon frame archetype, if that makes any sense.
They're the only... Okay, so 150 RPM precision is what they are, which nothing else is.
Which nothing else is. Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't have got that from reading that. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So what how does that change things then? So that makes it more vertical recoil, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, well, it keeps the characteristics of the gun. It basically just hamstrings it in terms of RPM. And so which ultimately means a slightly slower time to kill.
So people aren't going to have to change their recoil patterns, but it's going to shoot slower and you're not going to get that contextual third-party kill, basically.
Yeah, and the 1 in every 100 kills that where you come around and just meme on someone.
Like how good is it having someone on that knows something?
Hey, come on! I'm taking part credit for this because I understood that none of us know anything and invited someone that knows some shit on.
If you have a look, man, I ranted in our chat for a solid 40 minutes.
Yeah, it was fucking. You were a toxic little turd for about an hour.
I was not happy.
Okay, so now that we understand it, let's go to the emotional response. So what was your initial response to it?
The initial response is, what the heck are they thinking? Because in the second paragraph, they say the perk is too effective because it rewards people for getting headshots. And then they say at the bottom, Magnificent Sound will still give an advantage to requiring less precision hits. So if they're saying that people are going to hit headshots anyway, then what's the bloody point?
Yeah, I get what you're saying. It's a big contradiction.
So that's issue number 1. 2, the issue that everyone says that the Not Forgotten and Luna's Heart, this is talking right now in this season with the weapons. Yes, last season they were a bit OP, and then in Forsaken they were the only guns that you probably should be using at that point. But right now, no one really uses a Not Forgotten at high tier. Everyone is looking towards Last Word because it's the same time to kill, but it's a bullet hose, so you don't even have to worry about hitting your shots. Yeah. Or the Recluse, which is actually just a better gun all round in the energy slot.
What's the Recluse do again?
After you get a kill, it does 25 damage to the head and body, so it becomes like a 0.8 time to kill without any aiming required.
This is a SMG, right?
Yeah, that's the SMG. So
and how do you get that?
And that's from doing this season's comp, which is 2100 in Fabled, and then wins, which you only get in Quick Play or Comp and Iron Banner. So super easy to get, and everyone should get it.
So
Everyone should try.
correct me if I'm wrong. It doesn't sound like you're angry, but it just sounds like you're a bit like, what the hell? Like, this is a bit left field. Is that the general response, or is it more than that?
It feels like you're gutting it. Well, and then the reply would be is that this issue that they're talking about, how it's still being prevalent, is only really happening on controllers where they have massive amounts of aim assist. And this is not me trying to shit on people who use a controller. This is just saying that because of the way the gun works and because of the aim assist and bullet magnetism and stuff, it's super easy to chain the headshots on precision kills on a controller than it is on mouse and keyboard.
Massively.
Same thing applies to Twilight Oath, which is the rapid fire sniper rifle.
Yeah.
The joke in my clan is that we call it a special scout because you really don't have to aim with that thing if you're on controller. Like, it's just too easy to get kills with.
Okay. And so what's the general consensus of what should have happened? Like, just leave it alone, or is there...
Well, in essence, yeah, because the guns, our opinion from a high tier point of view is that the gun's getting less and less used as more better alternatives are coming available. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
It doesn't mean, I mean, the gun's still good, and it probably will still be good, but it won't give you, I mean, and then everyone's saying, you know, I worked so hard for this dumb gun, why are you hamstringing it? And it's kind of the argument that Log came along with, is that if you're good enough to get the gun, you're good enough to trash on everyone. Shout out to the guy behind me doing the freaking dabbing.
I don't know who that is, but if you're in chat, let us know. Good job.
It's probably Jugs, let's be honest here.
Yeah,
See, this is the thing, is that a lot of the people, I think, I'm not attacking people directly, but a lot of the very angry people that you see on Twitter and all that sort of thing, a lot of the angry people on Twitter, I reckon they're probably paid. I reckon they probably... I reckon there's a very large percentage of people who are really upset about this change because they A, use a controller, B, they paid for the goddamn weapon. And that's fine. You've got the weapon, you've paid for it, that's fine. You're allowed to have an opinion on it. But if you've paid for it, then you probably don't really know what the weapon is supposed to do.
Do you know,
if you weren't good enough to get it in the first place, well, that seems like a you issue.
You know, one of those websites that do those like, like pay $500 and we'll get Thorn for you and shit like that. They offered for me to do a sponsorship for. I was like,
I remember you told me that. You're like, fuck, no, thank you very much. Hey, Mylan Games, just go on and pay some prick to unlock all the lore for you. Yeah. I don't look. Yeah. I mean, there's part of
that's what my channel is really. Just I'll read it to you. You don't have to unlock it.
Yeah. Now that you mention it, I am seeing some synergy there. So maybe you can revisit that, Matt. But I mean, I agree with Sloth in that. Like, I mean, I'll say the things I say on Twitter. I mean, a lot of the time, it probably looks just like I'm trying to argue with people, which it's kind of like a recreational activity for me, really. But I think in the Destiny community, we're really good at.
Knee-jerk reactions.
Well, both knee-jerk reactions and we kind of like we end up in these kind of echo chambers of like there's the people who have the gun and they're all like over here yelling the same ideas at each other, validating them, and then there's the people who don't have the gun going, I get fucking schooled by this gun all the time. Like it's uncomfortable, and I mean I do, but I'm not. I wasn't calling for a nerf or anything like that, so don't fucking at me. But I think that we've kind of got to remove ourselves from the context of just because it affects me, it's horrible, and I know that that's hard, but really with these guns, and I think the thing that there's a lesson to be learned in this, in that guns that are incredibly powerful or even marginally better than the rest aren't probably the guns that you want to be giving to the people who are better than the rest anyway, because it just exacerbates the skill gap.
Yeah,
Right?
and then because also my argument would be is that if you notice that you're losing to someone who has a not forgotten all the time, there's the chances are that they could be using probably any other gun, you'd still be losing just as hard.
Yeah.
And
That's
just
what I'm getting at,
drawn-
yeah.
and it's just drawn the fact that you see that name more often than you see every other name, so you're like, oh, it's obviously this gun. I mean, and
So-
I'm not trying to say that the gun's trash because it's still really damn good, and it should probably be toned back.
I keep just coming back to what you said, Sassy, and it was one of the philosophies they brought up themselves was to like lift other weapons up to that level. And like people are putting in chat as well that, you know, we don't know what's coming out next season. You've already seen like Recluse is starting to take. I don't know why they just don't let it fade off by bringing other guns
yeah,
up to that
'cause-
level. That just seems to make more sense
But-
to me.
Well,
They
this is also
They also touch on the point that if they continue to just buff everything and make something better, it continually erodes the game's minimum time to kill.
Yeah, okay, I agree with
And
that.
it's not sustainable for a long period of time.
Oh.
You know, like they're better
Yeah,
off.
I do agree. That's pretty funny. Then it's like fucking PP9s,
It's just
sidearms,
every
one
yeah.
shot.
Guess what? We end up in fucking GoldenEye, golden gun mode, and that's the end of it. You know,
Yeah,
like
well, I mean,
so they're better
the
off doing
philosophy-
small nerfs now to bring something back to where they feel is the optimal time to kill. Which clearly this in the 2-tap situation goes beyond that, right? Like it is a ranged 2-tap. It's rude from a hand cannon.
Yeah.
So I think like that. I don't think that's a valid fucking about this is to say that they only said they were going to buff things. I think that is ideally, yeah, sure, they only want to buff things, but there's always going to be things where things like this happen and they are way more powerful than they anticipated. They're going to have to come back to the pack, or it erodes the game as a whole.
I mean, but here's like the rebuttal to that. Like, is that not the point of a pinnacle weapon? I mean, this is the whole conversation around exotics
well,
being too powerful
yeah.
and that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. Do you know, like when do you? What does
When
that
you draw
power
the
level?
line.
What should that reward look like? If it's not powerful enough, people aren't going to do it. If it's too powerful, then they're going to get scaled back. I mean, that balance is always the hardest thing to find, I
Yeah.
guess.
'Cause
And that- Sorry, Sasko. Sorry, mate.
I was going to say my argument of a pinnacle weapon would be it's a pseudo exotic. It's an exotic that you have that's a legendary, so you can equip another exotic. If that makes any sense
Yeah.
at all.
I like
Exactly,
that idea.
yeah, I think
like
so,
that.
yeah.
I like that statement. At the same time, though, I think that these two guns in particular, and the Recluse to a lesser extent, because it's not quite so hard to get, is I'd ask the question why when a gun is that good, right? Is that really the reward that you want to be putting into people who are already fucking really good? Like,
Yeah, it has to be because that's what you do in PvE
but,
as well.
Look, I'm going to get to it in a sec. We had and I tweeted about it a couple of days back, but we had a really, really good conversation about the reward structure and what people are trying to get out of it going forward. And we can dive into that in a little bit when we wrap up this conversation. But for mine, I think like the other thing that we haven't done yet is actually played with these changes. So.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of like theory crafting and shit goes on in Destiny, and that's totally fine. And there's people who are incredibly good at it, like Mercules and all that sort of stuff. But I think that a vast majority of the reaction to this has been jumping on the back of other people's reaction to it rather than people really considering what it means for their own ability themselves. You know, like if you are good enough to be able to use this gun to its absolute peak right now, then yeah, you may notice a difference. But if you're not, then you're not going to. And it really... You know, that's that at the end of the day. That's why we have Sass on. So he can say these things and people have to, know that someone who can school them can fucking holds the same opinion.
this is the thing, is that people put a lot of stock in the larger content creators things. We were talking about this the other night, like people fucking starting asking us what do you think about this? Fuck, we're just three random dudes and a fourth who's actually quite decent at the game. But people put a lot of stock in content creators' opinions. They put a lot of stock in YouTubers' opinions and all that sort of thing. And
I couldn't imagine Datto's stream this week. What do you think for the fourth?
Oh my God.
Bigger streamers, bigger all that sort of thing. People listen to those people and then they echo those opinions and all those sort of things. But there was one particular comment that I did see on the Bungie tweet, is that and I went back to watch the VOD just to be sure. TV, True Vanguard, has gone, as someone said, TV has already quit Destiny 2 because of these changes. I was like, that can't be right.
Yeah, he came out and supported them. Really, he was
one of the biggest. He's one of the bigger proponents of balance in this game.
The most wholesome, lovely person you could ever imagine.
He's very wholesome, dude. I went back to watch the VOD, and people are taking what he said, and it's the same thing as across the board. I'm sure Glad's had it, Ninja's had it, I'm sure fucking Howl has had it, and all that sort of thing. They take what they say, and then they twist it into their own personal paraphrased ammunition to use against everybody else. And if you don't have the weapon, but you've been killed by it, yeah, you have an opinion, but I just don't think that you have. I just don't think that you are within your rights to give any more of an opinion than it's been. It hurts to be killed by it. I've been killed by it a lot, but I don't know how the fucking weapon works.
Yeah, I mean, I have never and probably will never get my mitts on it, so it doesn't ultimately matter. But I think this is the thing that, I mean, this is always going to happen. It's been happening since day dot with fucking Destiny. It will always happen with Destiny. It is,
It's getting worse, man.
No, I don't know.
It's getting worse.
What do you mean?
I find that the Destiny community has gone from, so D1, I don't want to sit back and say, oh, D1 were the glory days, because it was a fucking looking at it through rose-colored glasses and all that sort of thing. But people,
do you not think that you're more connected now, Sloth, than you were before?
I think that's the issue, man. I was just getting to that.
That might be, that might be the case. I might be more connected to the game, but
I mean, for the first year of
being a
Destiny,
rock star over here, I've been dealing with this for.
You fucking
but the point is I'm making is I think as your stream's growing, as your Twitter's growing, as the podcast's growing, you get a lot more echo and you get a lot more feedback and you hear a lot more things than you normally would when you're just playing the game, or if you're just watching YouTube videos. And I probably think that might be flavoring your opinion.
I think so. I think we're a bit more willing to wade in the shit these days than we used to be. Like, where we'd just be like, yeah, whatever. Now I don't know. I mean, I kind of enjoy, and as much as I get fucking people who just like, I get rage back, I kind of like, I'll put myself in a frame where I can have a conversation with someone who I disagree with as often as I can, because that's how I learn.
Dude, you are such a shit stirrer, mate. All the time.
I can't help it. I can't help it.
You're that drunk guy at the train station looking for a fight.
Yeah, but I'm also not because I never argue with the people who respond.
Do you know what? This is the funny thing. Like, I have this conversation with Danny all the time too, because she's actually pretty confrontational and she's got a law degree. And I'm like, Danny, not everyone wants to fight. Not everyone wants to have this massive dislike. We'll be at the pub or we'll be having lunch with someone and someone will say something and she'll like fucking pull them up straight away and be like, no, that's not like, and I'm like, and I can see that person being like, this fucking bitch. Like, I'm like, Danny, like, you need to be able to read. Like, some people love talking and they love, and some people are really easily offended by like, small amount of criticism, but you know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like you're okay with like having a hard conversation.
Yeah,
and it doesn't bother you. And like, I'm the kind of person, I get fucking fired up. Like, once I start getting angry, like I'm in fight mode, and like I can't control it. Like, and that's just my personality.
I'll just
Chris and I were talking about that the other day. He was saying that once you get into fight mode, you don't really pull out of that.
Yeah, I just start swinging.
This is the thing, is that I personally can't say that I'm a fucking knowledge base on Destiny 2. We have a podcast on it, but I choose to ignore a lot of things. If there's one thing I know is people, how they behave, and the behavior across between Destiny 1 and Destiny 2 has gotten a shit ton worse as far as I'm concerned. Now, a lot of people, not a lot of people, but some people were in my personal stream, some people in other people's streams, and some people in in the stream right now are saying that they need to separate the sandboxes between console and PC.
Look, I think
that's a big one. That with something we'll touch on in a while as well, with the changing of the workforce between where they are now to what is going to be post-September, with the changing of the guard and all that sort of thing. I don't think it's not something that they can do. You can't balance two separate sandboxes for each console.
Between PvP and PvP. I'll be honest. I don't disagree with it as a concept. I think that
I don't either. I think it's a great concept.
I think it's a hard
manpower is going to.
Yeah, I just think that practically it's not on the cards, but it does suck, and that's the thing that I've reiterated that a couple of times in the tweets that I feel for people who are really strive to get this gun, and then sort of like don't like Crucible but managed to go there and get it, and then went back to doing their PvE stuff because they enjoyed it in PvE, and now it's been nerfed because of something that's, like really not related to what they do. I can understand why people are upset. Don't get me wrong. I just think that we need to be, this has fucking happened since Destiny Day dot, man. Remember when Thorn was overpowered and then Thorn was fucking shit? It's always going to happen.
The argument that's happening here, and this is from my group's point of view because we had a huge chat about it. It feels left field because on PC anyway, the gun was being phased out. So it's like, why nerf something if no one really felt like it was being a problem anymore? Two, the immediate answer that we had was, why didn't you just change the aim assist? Like, if it's a problem because of aim assist on console, why didn't you just change the aim assist on it like you did with Queenbreaker? Obviously, that's an armchair dev call where it's like, it's obviously harder to change something than just change a value like that. But the immediate reaction was that. And then two, as Jonathan, I think it's said it.
Jonathan,
nothing. These are the only things that PvP guys have had the past year. There's been no weapon updates. There's been no perk updates. There's been no armor updates. So we've just had these couple of guns that come around, and and then we're like, let's collect them. And then so that one's not Luna's and Not Forgotten's going to be nerfed. And Mountaintop's kind of safe because it's kind of average, but Recluse is really good. It's the best PvE gun in terms of ad clear, and it's a damn good PvP gun. So it's like, is that the next one on the chopping block? Does that mean it's going to be nerfed into the freaking ground next?
Are these nerfs? Is it nerfed into the ground? That's the thing. By the looks of things, these two hand cannons are still very, very usable.
Yeah, but my argument would be that everyone's just going to be using different guns anyway, because everyone in comp, from my clan, was already using Last Word. Because it's just a better gun.
Yeah. I get it though. I think we've covered most of those aspects of this conversation.
I think we've done okay. I'm glad we got Sass in because I think he's far more articulate and has a better understanding of it all. But it does touching on Sass's point just then, in that this is the only thing that comp has had in recent time. Really, that's all there is. There's no new maps, no new armor, no new gear, nothing to really strive for. Except for the Pinnacle weapon. We had a pretty epic conversation 3 days ago.
That was an epic conversation. Yeah, it was.
And I think that, for the betterment of everyone here, we're the better part of an hour into the podcast. I think we can talk about it now and give our thoughts on what we think would be a better comp, or a better mix of the Crucible playlist, because there's a few things at play there that all interact with each other that are definitely out of whack as it stands. Now, just bouncing off that, if you haven't seen the news doing the rounds, that BSK Change has been picked up by Bungie on a 6 month contract.
Change, my boy.
He's going to be BSK Change.
So there's a guy that we know him, and it's a guy called Change, and he's a stupidly good PvP player. He's really, really good. And he applied for one of the Crucible multiplayer design positions.
Yep.
And it was announced earlier this week that he's got a job at Bungie, but he hasn't announced what job it is yet. So no one really knows. We're all hoping that it's something to do with multiplayer. But
Well,
it has been. We just know that he's now been contracted by Bungie for I think 6 months,
Okay, so maybe he picked up game tester or something for Crucible.
like a QA or something like
Yeah,
that.
Crucible. Yeah.
At any rate, it's good to have someone who's clearly got fucking outside context. I'm not saying that the people that are Bungie don't, but
Yeah.
it's good to see that they've someone's going into it from that perspective.
And from our point of view, it's great to have someone who can see something that will be easily abused and then actually show that how abusive that this.
Yeah.
You're also implying there, Sass. You're also implying that the QA team there at the moment doesn't know what they're doing.
No, he's
No,
not
he's
implying
not.
that at all.
I don't think he's implying that at all. I think there's a different perspective.
No, but there's a difference between getting someone who's very ingrained in the community to join a team and having someone that's already working at Bungie. It was very similar to like the anthology. Like, okay, they wrote the anthology, but they don't have intricate knowledge of. They're not in the DMs with all the other lore guys. They're not talking with all the subscribers every day. You know, that's what I was doing, and so that was some of the advice that I was passing on from like community perspective. And I imagine this would be the same as like he has the community knowledge that he's passing on to the team.
It's an interesting nonetheless. But before we actually go on any further, BSK changed joining the team. That's pretty awesome. But we've actually had some
people leaving.
Yeah,
We've got Joe Blackburn, Joe Blackburn and Jill Shah. Is it?
Joe Blackburn's the like raid design, right?
Yep.
Senior raid design.
Yep.
Yeah. So
Holy
he's moving on to new, bigger and better things. And Jill Shah, and I apologise if it's not Jill Shah. It's Jill something. I'm sorry.
Shah.
I don't.
It's Jill Shah.
It is Jill Shah. Jill Shah is also moving on as well. Who
One
is
of the
a
writers.
writer for Bungie? One of the writer has been a writer since Taken King. So
I mean, we can
thank you
confirm
very
now.
much.
We can confirm now that there will be no raids or story in Destiny 3. How sad?
No raids or story Destiny 3.
No raids, no story, no PvP.
All
so
PvP. It's just strikes, man.
It's just strikes, man.
Just patrols.
Anyway. No strikes, no strikes. Man.
Not
Just
to
a
distract from the issue. I just had to be a little bit of a fuckwit there because Destiny and all. But I think from the three of us, we can say that like there are definite things. They've made our life as a Guardian better, both of them.
Yeah, for sure.
So good luck, Godspeed. I hope that wherever you're off to, whatever you strive to do in the future, pans out wonderfully. And we look forward to hearing all about it.
And to answer Freak Gaming, no, not necessarily Destiny is falling. It's just people move because they want to do something else with their life. Like,
Destiny's been it's been what 4 years, moving into its 5th year of.
It's almost.
It's almost what
7
6 years
since Destiny 1.
Yeah.
Well, you got to think that they were working on it before it released.
Well, yeah. So it's been
5
5 to 7 years that some of these people have been working on the IP, and they want to move on to something else. And if Joe Blackburn is moving on to Bethesda to work on Elder Scrolls, as the rumor mill is perpetuating, then that's cool. And whatever Jill Shah is moving on to as well, that's
there, I think.
That's amazing. Like.
Yeah.
I mean, that's life. Like no one.
Yeah.
No one's and I understand where people are coming from. The knee jerk reaction is like, oh my god, that's the raid guy. What's going to happen now? But man, look at the size of the fucking raid. Look at the amount of stuff in it. There's got to be more than just. It's not just Joe spending fucking weekends in a fucking dimly lit room going, I've got to finish Last Wish for the fucking Guardians. It's just can't be fun.
It's someone who's. I feel like all it is that if you're a creative person, let's say you're a writer, do you want to be stuck in the same universe, writing the same stuff in the same universe for the next 10 years? Or do you want to start work on something a little bit different?
Yeah.
I think
have a chance to create again. Look at the whole thing. That was why Bungie wanted to get rid of Halo.
And do you know what? I think it's easier to leave. And I don't know if this had an impact or not, or maybe it was just their contracts were up or whatever. But I think it's easier to leave when Destiny's at a high. Like, they've been there in the trenches, both narrative and you know, like Joe, like digging them out and like got them through the really rough patch. And like Destiny, you know, even if the player base is not huge like it used to be, it's in a fairly decent spot. You know, we have these little
good position
people like get angry about, but the game itself is in a good position. You know, they just left Activision. There's obviously a big future for it still, but it's, you know, leave at the top, right? Like leave when everything's going fine, because anyone who leaves any workplace, it sucks to leave when fucking everything's on fire. Doesn't matter what workplace you work in. Like, you know, I'm like that. I'm sure you guys are. Like, it sucks to leave a place like everything's gone to shit. You're like, yeah, I'm going to leave now. Fucking catch up.
Yeah. And then,
you know,
and also consider where they might be in the game cycle. So it is what, April. So seasonal opulence is essentially wrapped up. One could assume that the development or the writing and initial development is probably done for whatever the next one.
Yeah, I agree. I reckon the next thing's probably mostly done as well.
Yeah, so from a writer's point of view, you're basically just sitting there on your thumbs. You're either going to work on the next project or you start looking at new worlds. Because that's what Lara went through when the Division, because, you know, towards the end of it, she didn't really have a lot to do because everything was basically being tied up with QA and getting the servers good. Now that the game's finally out, it's, you know, working overtime to try and make sure that the live game, but they're getting set up to pass everything to the live team. And then it's off to whatever they choose to do next.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so thank you very much, Jill Shah and Joe Blackburn.
Thank you.
And I hope everything...
Joe?
Say again, sorry.
Didn't Joe Blackburn do Shattered Throne as well? Or was that something that
I'm not sure.
Tell you.
I think so. I can't remember though.
I thought he was I thought he was in charge.
I think he helped lead that team, but maybe not.
Yeah. Anyway,
touching on a throwback to a little while ago, but touching on the guitar errors that are happening with the Revelry. The Revelry orbs have been disabled in Gambit, Gambit Prime, Raids, and Competitive Crucible due to an increase of guitar errors and activity disconnections. The reason why people were going into these competitive playlists and raids and so forth is by defeating other Guardians in Precision Kills and Quick Play Rumble and featured Crucible playlist. They were supposed to get 200 orbs for the Party Harder Triumph.
The Andrew WK triumphs.
Yeah.
Party hard and party harder. I refuse to accept any other explanation for the naming of either of those. I'm sure he's fucking proud.
So that's been changed to 20 orbs, and if you have if you already hit 20 orbs, it'll auto complete after downloading the patch and all that sort of thing. So that is also going to be changing. They're doing
So basically do it now because it's going to be easier, right?
Yeah.
You're only going to have to do 20 orbs rather than 200. And what do you just have to do? Get precision kills in the Crucible in quick play or...
No, it's just generate orbs, so just use your super.
It's just generate orbs. General.
If you would like to ask the Bungie developers for their, just have a yarn with them or watch them, listen to them have a chat with each other, they're doing a Shattered Throne ride-along.
I think this will be good.
29th.
That's going to be so good, dude.
Yeah.
I actually might tune into this one.
Monday, April 29th at 2:30 p.m. Pacific, twitch.tv/Bungie. So if you'd like to jump in there, make sure you follow Bungie and make sure you've got notifications turned on if you'd like to. And another thing, just before we like go into the freeform type of the actual freeform type of the podcast, I would like to give a shout out to Carolina Gamer and my friend Butters, who have got the movie of the week, Tripping Over Mines, where CG attached a stupid amount of trip mines to Butters' Sparrow and drove it at Brachus Zahn in the Arms Dealer strike and killed him. It was absolutely incredible.
Yeah, with the explosion. It's unreal.
We ran across a team in Iron Banner who all had 6 hunters with Kara spines, and you actually couldn't move, man. There was so many red lines. It's like everywhere.
That's really, really cool. So that's well done to CG and Butters and
I'm
Akeda.
watching
So
it
thank
now,
you
that's
very much.
crazy.
It's incredible. It's really, really cool.
Hold
So
on, before you move on, did you
Yeah,
see
yeah.
the patch notes denial of the 9?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Wait, so we just can't do Invitation of the 9 this week?
No.
Is that based on the
That's
story?
basically-
Yeah,
it.
you got to get Vex kills on the reef in the
And there are
Tangled
no
Shore.
Vex
Good
to
luck-
kill on the
Good
reef.
luck trying to find Vex, man. What
There's
it was because that when they were testing it, this is actually this is big old question marks. The thing from Bungie is that when they were QA testing there was another bug that was going around where killing enemies anywhere would count towards the invitation. So they just tested it and then assumedly moved on. And then when that got fixed, they realized that the Warden of Nothing Strike doesn't count as being part of the Tangled Shore, which is where the Vex are. So
Yeah.
shout
Right.
out to that.
And yeah, so currently blocked. So no Invitation of the 9 this week.
It means I've caught up because I missed 1 week.
I have not.
So
I
can
have
you-
not caught up.
Can you pick it up? Can you pick it up
Yeah,
or not?
you can pick it up, but until if they don't patch it by Thursday, then you're fucked.
And they're
Okay.
tracking the Virescent emblem tracking. Doesn't track the deepest branch reached during a single run of the Verdant Forest, the
Oh,
Revelry
dude,
Light,
that's
and the
so
guitar
many-
errors. Jubilant engrams are not knocking out items as expected when open across multiple characters, so there's more duplicates. And PC players are having crashing issues wearing the Revelry ornaments near the Bagusia Forge. So
Get away from it.
It is recommended to not wear your Revelry ornament when you're going near the gooch. All right.
It blows my mind that you could just put a piece of gear on and you go near something.
Spaghetti. Like back in the day in League of Legends, dude, you could move an item and press it at the same time and it would crash the game for everyone in the server.
It's
that was
it's
fun.
nutty. Like you just see how fickle these systems can be. The fact
Spaghetti
that
code
you
is
just
so good, dude.
fucking wear a piece
So-
of armor and game turns off. See ya. Oh,
There was
Okay,
one
so,
recently that happened on Destiny like that. I know
So-
you can still do it with a sword. You can crash yourself out of the tower with a sword.
Yes, you can. Yeah.
I've showed you guys multiple times. I've tested it every other patch. I know,
But-
it's still there.
The question. So, if you guys have any burning questions or anything like that, things that you want us to touch on, please let us know in the chat. Or if you have any questions in the YouTube comments, please let us know in the YouTube comments as well, and we'll do our best to answer them. But a question from Mylan from Pizza Trains: May 14th, the curse should break. Do you think there will be an event or anything like that, my friend?
I think seeing what they did with Invitation of the 9, I'm probably more hopeful to see something because that cutscene with the Drifter took a lot of people by surprise. Just thinking it was just going to be a low key event, I guess. Well, it wasn't meant to be a low key event, but you know, considering they were like, we're not really doing cutscenes anymore, we're focusing on this, that, and the other, and you know, most of the lore is going to be in books and that. I was surprised to see cutscenes, even if they were in game, like, and then there's been in game cutscenes. So I'm hopeful that we'll see something. And technically, this should be this is
kind of
finale.
the finale of Forsaken,
This is
right?
Forsaken finishing.
More or less, yeah.
So I'm always be surprised if we didn't get something. I didn't put it in my diary. Otherwise, I'm going to forget.
This is the as you said, this is the end of Forsaken and all that sort of thing. And it gives me a little bit more hope that there will be some different lore and different things to do in Season of Opulence, because Season of Opulence, there's the picture of it's got, by the looks of things, it's got a Red Jack or Benedict or something like that on the front of it. Yeah.
Do you reckon they will start moving down a sort of different narrative branch?
We might be going down a narrative branch of like keying up for what comes post September and maybe doing something with Callus again.
You want to
He's
hear
just
my
sitting
pipe
out
dream?
there.
Yeah.
That's it. Go.
Season of Op, they tested it this week with choosing between Drifter and Vanguard. Season of Opulence is going to make you choose between being a Guardian or being a Shadow of Callus.
Dude,
Fuck,
I hope so hard.
that'd be pretty
Fucking
cool.
hope.
Honestly, that'd be pretty cool.
Fuck, it's a hard choice.
It
Because
is
It's a hard
like,
choice, isn't it?
I reckon
Because
Old
Callus
Callus
has
would give
invited
you whatever
to
you
have
wanted.
a front seat ticket to the end of the universe.
Yeah.
He's basically said that.
what
I'm
happens if-
thinking
what
all
happens
these
if you
things are
do
going
that?
to come
You just-
together. All these things with the 9, the Drifter, and Callus. I actually think we may have started a new sort of narrative with Season of the Drifter. It might
It
merge
might
into
be.
Callus.
It might be
It'll-
building a narrative towards whatever the next
Yeah, the big
iteration
one.
of Destiny
Yeah.
may be, whether it's a TTK-esque type of DLC or whether it's a Destiny 3.
It touches
Oh,
back
who
to
knows?
like what we were saying a few weeks back, where they're putting a lot of characters in the field to then be used at a future date. Like they're starting to flesh out characters, and like the
Avengers
Drifter.
team is
And
becoming the
yeah,
government.
like to use that analogy, like going forward, they're not going to have to explain what the Drifter's about because we're going to fucking know, or the 9 because we're going to know what they're about to some extent, or I think that we're moving towards some pretty in-depth, fast-paced
So
storytelling.
are we moving towards Destiny 3? Are we moving towards the end of the Destiny universe?
I don't know.
Sorry, the end of this 10-year rotation. And we've got Mara Sov doing her thing. We've got Savathun doing their thing. We've got Callus doing his thing. We've got fucking Drifter doing his
Drifter,
thing in
the
the Vanguard.
nine.
Or Quarter.
There's so many
Vanguard
great
doing their
characters.
thing. And then
Rasputin doing
and then Rasputin's doing Rasputin and Anna Bray are doing their own thing, and then
Hey.
the possibility of Elsie Bray as well, and then there's us in the middle going,
Can you
What
can
the
you
fuck?
fucking imagine if the Exo Stranger comes back?
I
Like,
don't
you
have
can
time
you imagine
to explain why I don't have time to understand.
the closing fucking cutscene of Destiny 2 is the Exo Stranger appears and goes, "All right, I've got time now."
Dude,
And
I've
you'd
got
be
time
like,
now, but everyone's dead.
"Who are you?
That'd be
Oh,
funny.
remember me? I've got time to explain now." Fucking
the other thing that I discovered this week, thanks to Anon Pigo, I think got it from the Ishtar Collective forums, is about Variks. And do you remember a very initial cutscene with the invitation of the 9 and how the emissary says that only 3 people have been judged worthy? And the Drifter is one of them, and she just hints at the 2 others, and we don't know who they are. And one of them is
with
called
the knife or something. What, is it the blade or the knife?
one's the Forgotten Blade Sharpened anew. And everyone completely forgot this is card in the Variks the Loyal book, and he actually has a dream about the 9, and it pretty much says that they judge him worthy, and that this is the only path for him, and he's to become anew. And then he goes on to release all the prisoners from Prison of Elders and release Prince Aldrin, and he ends with wanting to become Kel of Kells. So I'm thinking that Variks is going to return, but he's going to be on this plane, this level, similar to the Drifter, where he's been judged worthy. And the cool thing is, and I have to thank Sassi for this, do you remember when you recorded Trials of the 9 for me like a year ago? I still had all that, and you can't find this on Ishtar Collective or anywhere else, but I had transcribed everything the emissary says to you. And she tells you the 3 keys, which is judgment, death, and then perfection.
God,
Yep.
judgment. How
Right.
fucking obvious.
And the House of
Yeah.
Judgment, yeah.
and his house of judgment, right? And so I'm predicting, this is my prediction, that Variks, he'll go through the 3 keys. He's already been judged worthy. Something will happen dying. I reckon it'd be a great way to bring Siva back. That links into being perfected as well. And so we're going to see a Variks Siva Kel return. Is worthy of the 9.
Here's the big question: for or against? Are we fighting with him or against him?
I reckon Variks going to be a villain. I think he's going to return as a villain. He's a fucking fantastic character. I
I
really
agree,
like
yeah.
Variks.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
been beaten down. He is the
has a
guy that's
bone to
been
pick
beaten
with-
down, and he finally rises up and becomes a fucking
Yeah,
badass.
he's got a bone to pick with everyone.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
I mean,
So, question here from MD Geek. Welcome, thank you. Do you think Bungie will finally do something to increase the vault space, which actually to be thought of as a spreadsheet as it holds nothing but numbers? It's been almost a year now. We have a lot more loot since last increase when Opulence comes out.
Shout out to collections supposed to be to solve your all that, but you can't pull it out because random perks. So it's basically useless.
I think in future iterations of Destiny going forward, there will be a better solution to this. I think what we're seeing now is them finally coming to grips with it. It sucks because of the random perk thing, but I think that ultimately down the line we will be able to pull a lot of things from something more like collections than the vault.
Yeah.
So I
I
think
would much prefer like random perks be added to collections, and you don't even need a vault. Then you just delete everything, and you can rebuy it if you want it.
Yeah.
Honestly, at this current point in time, when it comes to the meta for PvP and the meta for PvE, I have very, very few weapons in my vault. I think my vault probably has maybe about 15 weapons and maybe 15 pieces of armor.
This is kind of where I put junk. I don't need anything that's in there. I could just wipe it. It wouldn't matter. But yeah, I do think we'll ultimately see a better solution.
How would a collections tab work with random rolls? What would you envision the UI to look like?
You
if
could go
had
in and
random
select a
rolls
gun, and then you select a gun, and it comes up with a window and shows you all of the rolls that you've gotten.
That
and
you
you can
picked.
just go in and fucking
So
pick it
the
again.
roles that you have unlocked and the roles that you can possibly get.
Or just
So
the ones that
if
you've
you
got.
Yeah.
Well, no, see, I was thinking what Sloth was saying, and then I was like, oh, but then you could. I was thinking like, what if you just unlocked? You went into the gun, and then you had like them blanked out with the random rolls. When you got that random roll, it would unlock, but then you could start like putting certain combinations together, and that would probably be too overpowered because then people would always be.
Everyone
Once
has
you
to go
unlock
roll.
this roll, then you unlock that roll, then you always.
But you have to
put them
unlock
together.
the god roll first.
Yes, that's something. So it has to be
You
the
can only put
combo.
you can only put outlaw and rampage together if you've gotten the role of outlaw and
Yes.
rampage. You can't just have
Yes.
one weapon has
That's
outlaw,
such
you've deleted
a huge
it.
memory issue.
I'm sure it would be. Now, question from Freak Gaming. Thank you very much. What do you think the 15th wish will be, Matt?
Easter. It happened. There's eggs everywhere. Don't worry about it.
Nailed it.
Well, I mean,
What
it's
if-
interesting. Maybe this 15th wish is going to come up with the curse going.
Maybe.
That's what I read somewhere, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I haven't learned much back into it because the wishes that's the wall of wishes, which is what Marasov used to communicate with the Ahamkara, and we haven't. There's still one remaining wish, and the heart of Riven is now in possession of the Awoken, and we've got the curse in the city. So it could be like that. So this genie screwed us over, so we're going to use the genie to unwish the damage the genie did.
That may well be the case, right? It's a bit of a mind fuck. But
A question from Cash Gaming. At Mylan Games, where's Savathun? When and where do you think we'll find her? Soon in the pyramid
Soon.
ships.
So
Probably the
What-
pyramid shit.
what did I just read recently that was about dull Inca? Oh, I reread the Truth to Power book. That was really interesting. Because so this is all sort of coming to a pinnacle with Truth to Power with Dull Inkaru, which is the daughter
Pyramid ships.
of Savathun.
Pyramid.
pyramid ships. What's the first part is where's Savathun? So the interesting thing in the Truth to Power book is she was trying to create a different tribute system from Oryx. So Oryx made the tribute system to feed the worms because the worms needed to keep feeding, otherwise they consume their host. So Oryx made a system where the lesser hive kill and they take some energy to feed their worm and they pass the energy up the chain. The next hive, so it goes Thrall, Acolyte, Knight, Witch, and then Ascendant Hive. And that was Oryx's system to grow strong and to feed his worm. Savathun's been trying to do other stuff to feed the worm, through trickery because that's part of her nature. And she's been creating, basically going into black holes where time passes differently or time passes fast as a way of like collecting tribute quickly. But also she's sort of created a second system, which is rather than feeding worms through killing, she's feeding them through trickery. So basically she says, anytime someone is confused by my name, my story, who I am, where I am, it will feed my worm. And so that's sort of where the Truth of Power book is going, is that Savathun is sort of developing a new system of tribute.
When you said trickery for the first time, I thought you said chicory, and I was like, what the fuck has lettuce got to do with it?
Trickery with a T.
But no, log your 0 of 4 out of creator emblems, aren't you?
No, 3. 3. I haven't done it 4 times ever.
0 out of 3 then.
You're impossibly out of sync. You look like
Am I?
you're a ventriloquist dummy and someone's got their hand up your ass. It was horrifying. Sass, do you want to quickly have a chat about comp and how we like some of the ideas we laid down in our chat the other day? I think it's probably worth touching on.
Armchair devs and everything.
Yeah, I look, yeah, it is. But I think that like we can, you know, it's fair enough to have a conversation about it. It's not going to hurt anyone. I'm not telling anyone how to do their job.
Well, I feel like comp needs to change. Something needs to give. And I think the way we looked at it was move the Pinnacle weapons to something that can happen in every playlist, and then leave comp as a proper ladder. So if you go from 0 to 5,500, and then you match people in your own rank. So if you're a guardian, or if you're a brave, or a heroic, or fabled, mythic, and then legend, you'll only match people in those brackets.
Yeah.
And then once you hit 5,500, it's basically endless, but you only get match people who are 5,500 plus. And it's just a ladder. And then my option was the top 200 people get something exclusive, like a shader for the a shader, an emblem, or an ornament for the Pinnacle weapon, but just something similar to a day 1 or a week 1 raid emblem, to give them a shout out that they actually put the time in and they were good enough to do something like that.
What would be like the top 3 problems with the competitive playlist?
Right now, there's no incentive to play it. Which is the biggest one.
There's no incentive. There's no incentive that you think that can play it.
If you're a Triumph Hunter, once you've gotten 5,500 on 3 season and unlocked your Unbroken title, you actually have no reason to play plus 2,100 to get the Pinnacle weapon.
No, you're right.
Other than just playing it for the fun of playing it, which no one really does because the maps are kind of average.
Yeah, and it's style
maps.
Yeah, there's no shout out to Countdown on Vostok for being like, what the heck is this?
So maps, incentive, and is a player base an issue?
Yeah, I think
say, no, the player base is an issue because the incentive's an issue. We obviously have enough players. Yeah, but no one wants to play.
That will come if it's right. Okay, and what would be your top 3 like fixes?
Top 3 fixes. Will add rewards for hitting higher ranks. Not Pinnacle weapons, just aesthetics.
Not weapons. I'd say armor pieces that look good or have decent rolls. Or something.
I would even argue against armor pieces. Maybe looking really cool. I don't know what you would call cool armor pieces, because I reckon every Crucible armor piece has been freaking ugly.
Yeah, but like that's the thing that they've already got the systems in place to be able to do ornaments and things like that you could only unlock by being Pinnacle.
What I would argue.
Whatever.
is that what I would like in a dream world is every season. This is for Vanguard, for Strikes as well, because they suffer from the same issue. That you get at least 3 new weapons get added to the pool. So yeah. So like a sniper rifle, a hand cannon, and then an auto rifle, and then next season another like a shotgun, an SMG, and a fusion rifle. Like something new is added every season. And then every season has its own armor set, but then with a base shader, and then you play comp if you want to get an emblem at the end of the season that shows, I don't know, your rank, like your glory at the end of it. So let's say you made it to 7,000 glory, you could have that at the end of the season, being able to be like, yo, like beat that. It's like
let me ask you this: if you had a choice and you could choose one, and it was like Trials of Osiris, Trials of the Nine, well, let's say Trials of Osiris to come back, or competitive, or both. Like, do you think you would just prefer to have something like Trials of Osiris, or would
Trials
you
of
want
Osiris
both?
would need to change because Trials of Osiris is essentially comp. There's no difference between them right now, apart from the fact that Trials is locked to one game type and one map over that week.
Yeah.
So. And then
and the whole flawless thing, right?
Yeah, which is fine. The argument that people would say that everyone wants the armor and the weapons to come back, I mean, which is valid, but I reckon that should be reversed for Trials of the 9 or whatever the next iteration of it is going to be. That needs to be something completely different. Comp needs to just be something to grind or ultimately to flex. To stroke your massive ego, you know.
E-Peen, gotta stroke that.
Yeah, I mean, like,
E-Peen.
that's where it gets to, is that like really for the top tier players, there is no reason to be playing comp whatsoever after about the first week. Literally,
you hit 5,500 and you're like, cool, everyone else fits 5,500. Now I'm just one of many. You want to be able to distinguish yourself, which is the big one for PvP players. That's ultimately what they want to be able to do.
The other thing that happens as a result is that once you're at that level and your friends aren't, you can't really play with each other because you're kind of forcing people to play either above their rank or not, or tank or whatever to get back down to rank to carry people up. So in that respect, a lot of people end up just back in quick play. Like people who are like should be in the comp, well, not necessarily should be in the comp playlist, but there's the general. Yeah, you know what? Look, I don't have a problem with people doing what they do, and I think the issue that we have of like people complaining about people using specific weapons or rolling in bigger groups or whatever is born of the fact that right now quick play is so sweaty because it's basically the version of comp where you don't D-rank. If you lose,
but I would say that would exist in every game, because and then the argument that people you're sweaty because you use Recluse and Luna's Howl and Last Word Sniper. It's like, well, obviously they're going to use the guns they find fun, and if that happens to be the better guns in the sandbox, then
true.
Are you really in a position to argue with that?
No, I don't think I mean, people always think they're in a position, but they're not.
Yeah, and then you'll always have the quick play warriors. I mean, we already know a bunch. And they're the people that, they don't want to play comp because they don't want a sweaty match. What they want to do is just ruffle stomp goon like people all day so they can think that they're, the most amazing people.
Yeah,
there are people that exist like that,
Yeah.
Why play comp when it's going to be a full sweat where you can go play quick play by yourself and get 70 kills in one game and feel good about yourself?
Yeah, but I mean that's why we play games, right?
True.
Yeah.
Endorphin kick.
I play games.
It is.
I play games to have fun. I don't play games to fucking stroke my E-Pain, honestly.
But feeling good at playing a game is the same. Is a part of having fun.
It's the same thing. It's the same.
I like even John, Jonathan. I don't think that even I don't think even fucking Trials is not the answer.
I think Bungie know that too, which is why it's
Trials is not the answer. Yeah, it's not.
Anyhow,
You know, it just is what it is.
All right.
But
Well,
I think
we've talked ourselves to a standstill. It's time for Sloth's outro preamble 1 of 18.
ladies and gentlemen, to touch on something that I sort of injected into the start of the podcast, it's good to have a conversation. It is good to have a conversation about fixing things. You might be in a conversation with someone you've never met on Twitter, or your friend on Twitter, or something like that, or in a Twitch chat or something like that. If they say something that they don't like, if you say something that they don't understand, or they say something that you don't understand, am I desynced, Matt?
Yeah,
No, it's fine,
really,
mate.
really bad. But get going.
About 2 seconds. Then keep going.
it's fine.
For fuck's sake. All right, so it's
I thought he left.
no. It's not a you like I said, you may not may not agree, they may not agree. That does not mean that you get to, or they get to. Well, sorry, that does not mean that you get to call them every name under the sun because their opinion is different to yours. Don't do it. Speak to someone that you on Twitter that you don't know. Speak to them how you would speak to your mum, or your dad, or your girlfriend, or your boyfriend, or your brother, or your sister. Speak to them with respect. Because if we keep rolling down this slippery slope of just yelling at each other and calling each other under the name under the sun, every name under the sun, we will devolve into something like League of Legends or Overwatch, and that is not what Destiny is about.
I love it. I'm just waiting for the big sucker punch, and there it is. Fucking bang, right in the face, right in the kisser. Good one.
All right,
Slight
ladies and gentlemen.
Just Freedom of Information Act kicking in. Sloth plays more Overwatch than he does Destiny these days. So he's
Yeah, you're right. Log's absolutely right, but like you just don't get that toxicity in Destiny as you do in Overwatch. Well, you never used to, but now it's starting to move that way. So let's keep Destiny positive and our discussions on point and able to have a discussion with people. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching. We have been the Destiny Down Under podcast. If you're watching in the Twitch chat, thank you very much. If you are watching on YouTube, thank you very much. Please let us know what you think of the podcast in the comments below. Hit that like button and subscribe if you feel so inclined. And to our audio only listeners, thank you very much for for your continued patronage.
And what are you doing
Okay.
next week, Sassi? Do you want to?
Staying the fuck away from PvP because the revelry is bogus right now.
All right.
Oh, good.
rude.
Yeah, I'm toxic, man.
Well, no shit.
Also,
but-
guys, hashtag don't spoil the end game for those of you who don't watch it, who haven't seen it yet.
Have a great weekend. The law is coming. The law will find you on May 14th, when this curse will be broken.
Well, possibly.
Maybe. Possibly. We don't know.
Thanks,
With
Saz.
an-
Thanks for just
with
bringing
an-
it down.
With an asterisk fine print, we don't actually know yet.
All right. Well, we are going to raid into the one and only Tefty Tef because, funnily enough, I want to make a good impression. So just jump in, make some noise, yell out, have a good time, and we will see you next week. Until then.
Thanks for joining, Sassi.
Yeah.
you're welcome.
Thanks for coming, Sass. I'm sure the
Thanks,
dogs
Sass.
appreciated hearing your voice. It's been wonderful.
Yeah, enjoyed this
Oh,
one.
guys.
This one's for you, though.
No, fuck you, man.